Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast with my assistant beat writer, the one and only, the great Ezekiel Trezevant. Zeke, it's great to be on with you today. Thanks for joining us. We're both here at the facility now. I want to apologize right up front. We're in t shirts, totally not professional. But when you're out here in the heat of Vegas and you're running out to practice, you're just not in a three-piece suit. So I apologize. Forgive us. We do not do this on a regular basis. We're not going to continue this on a regular basis, but we're sorry. Zeke, it's just the reality. It's Vegas. It's hot.
Still hot, even though we're almost in the middle of October. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Absolutely. All right, Zeke, got a lot to talk about. Literally moments ago, AP announces Aidan O'Connell's the starting quarterback. There were a lot of coaches that felt like he was the starting quarterback going into the season. Um, but they went the decision of Gardner. I think this is the right move. I said after the game, if you're convinced Aiden isn't your guy, then it doesn't matter if you stick with Minshew or not. But there's a lot of people in this building that still believe in him. He's going to get that chance. I like this move. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it as well, right? In terms of just giving Aiden a chance. He sat back, he watched the first 5 games of the season, and we all saw how it went. So we know Aiden competed very, very well in the offseason. He just lost out at the end. And I think that interception in the last preseason game probably was the deciding factor, honestly. So minus that, he probably I would say would have been the starter for the first couple of games of the season. Either way, he's the starter now. I think you have to give the team try to give him a spark of some kind, and obviously, considering what happened last week, it starts at quarterback.
Totally agree. All right, let's talk about those rookies. Man, DJ Glaze and JPJ, I understand the penalties, but they're rookies. Rookies make rookie mistakes. I have no problem. One of my Twitter followers said it best. I don't have a problem with a rookie making rookie mistakes. I have problems with veterans making rookie mistakes. You just heard me talk to AP about it. I mean, Bowers is a superstar. It was good for Eichenberg to get his feet on the ground. Tommy freaking Eichenberg. But those two offensive linemen, man, they're doing well. There's a bright future with the Raiders offensive line with those two rookies. Would like your thoughts on all four of them.
Yeah. I think the one thing and another thing AP kind of spoke to in terms of the team was just the effort. And I think with those young guys, even with the penalties, a lot of the penalties were coming from just, I don't want to say necessarily trying too hard, but they were going too hard, right? So, and then there's some mental mistakes in there as well. So you don't have to, at the very least, you don't have to wonder if these guys are trying their hardest, if they're trying their best. With these rookies, they're giving it everything they have. And like I said a couple of times before, the one thing that I love about really all of the rookies is that you have seen a change. You have seen an improvement from their respective units when they got in the game. It might be marginal, it might be a lot, but you've seen improvement from when they got in the game. So each one of them, and if you ask me another thing, I'll say Hondo is that speaks to Telesco, right? And all the guys that played into the draft this year, doing their due diligence, and it looks like they did a pretty good job.
You and I addressed this earlier in the week, and I think it's important. I mean, you're 5 games in. The Raiders are never going to be good making changes all the time. I mean, I've been here 5 years, and you've had Gruden, Bisaccia, McDaniels, Pierce. They're never going to make progress keeping to change coaches. I don't think they need to change. You brought AP in to fix a culture that was not good. You heard me talk to him today about culture, um, and about mental toughness. This team is not mentally tough. Develop that culture, all of it. I understand fans are frustrated, but at some point, Mark Davis just has to kind of tune fans out and say, listen, we got to give something an opportunity. Remember, there were people that wanted to fire Mike Tomlin. There were people that wanted to fire Dan Campbell. There were people that got Bill Belichick fired in Cleveland. The owner did not want to fire Bill, but the fans wanted him gone. I mean, I just think at some point you need to say, listen, I don't blame you for not liking the product, but there's a reason the last guy was fired. We got to let this guy build something. I'd love your thought because to me, and you and I are here in the building. This team is not quit on Antonio one bit, not one bit. And I think people need to just tap the brakes on the AP stuff. It's why we give new coaches 20 games. I'd love your thoughts.
Yeah. In terms of, and I'll start from the one thing that you said the most recently in terms of the quitting on the team. I haven't sensed any possible sense of that whatsoever. These guys in the locker room, from what I can pick up, they all fully understand that it's 17 games and you're only 5 games in. I think they have a pretty good head on their shoulders when it comes to that. But in terms of the continuity, yes, it's important. And you got to think about it. Not only have you had those, multiple head coaches, you've had other position coordinators or coordinators as well. And that plays a large part in it as well, right? When you're taking out the coordinators, swapping out the coordinators, now you got to spend another season or two just kind of getting a new system implemented. And then, oh yeah, after the first season, you got new players coming, other players leaving. There's so many different things that play into what happens in terms of on game day. So I think you got to be patient. You got to give coaches a chance. And there's not a long tenured coach that you're going to find in the National Football League outside of maybe Tomlin might be the only one where they were there for a long time and didn't experience at least one losing season or a couple of different, losing seasons or difficult seasons. This is par for the course. And you kind of have to get used to it. You got to take the good with the bad.
If we were sitting here next year and this team is still performing like this, then I think it's a fair conversation. But 5 games in, it's just not even. I mean, if we're at the end of 2025 and you're in week 15, 16, and the team is still inconsistent and roller coastering and not trending upward, then I think those conversations, fair or not fair, are germane. But not now, Zeke. Dear Lord, this just doesn't even make sense to me.
And I think context is also important, especially when we're talking about people's livelihoods and their jobs on the line, right? I think you got to keep in mind how many players they're missing, right? I think they're missing at least somewhere between, off the top of my head, 3 to 5 different starters off their defense alone, right? And missing some players on offense as well. Those all play a part in it, right? If you're not even full strength, you've been losing players since the first week of the season, a couple of days before the first game. I mean, you got to take that into consideration as well. It's not as if all of their starters are fully healthy and they're playing poorly. They're shorthanded. Got to keep that in mind.
Okay, let's turn to Davante. The Jets fire their coach, which is pretty funny. Not the funny that he lost his job, but the Jets fire their coach. Derek Carr's out with an injury. The pool is shrinking. I'm not saying that I don't think the Jets are out at all. I don't think New Orleans is out. I think Pittsburgh, which we've reported a few times, is absolutely in. Um, I still thought the trade would be done Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week. It's Wednesday. But if Pittsburgh really emerges, I think it will come after the game. I don't think they're going to trade him before the game. Um, I know that they would like to move him sooner rather than later. There are a lot of people emailing me, Zeke, and I need to get this handled right now. Is there any way that this relationship gets healed? No. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that ship is that ship is sailed. And if not for any other reason, really just like how do you bring him back into the locker room, right? Like how does he come back into the locker room and face those guys? There's different reports in terms of how Davante felt during his last game or after the last game that he played. I just think it's going to be tough to reintegrate him back into that locker room. I mean, you're talking about a room full of grown men who have been working their butts off since the summer, right? And they might feel some kind of way about how things went down. So I don't think that you need to prepare that. I'm treading lightly, but yes, and I just think it's tough to bring him back in. So I don't think there's any repairing that relationship.
And in fairness, let's let the listeners in. You and I, we've known this is coming for a long time. And so we're going to be writing a deep dive article when it's done. And I think people will understand our comments a little bit more at that time. Zeke, I want to turn direction now. One thing that stood out to me, and you heard me just talk to AP about it. When you watched the Carolina game, there were guys that did not give great effort. Some guys that even looked like they quit. Um, leave it there. Um, I didn't see that with one player against uh, this last game. I didn't see one time at the Denver Broncos game. I went back and watched the film twice. I didn't see one. I saw guys trying too hard that made mistakes. I saw guys that just made mistakes. Like there was a couple of mistakes Robert Spillane made, but Robert Spillane is a battler and he was just trying to do too much. I think that's a sign that the culture is getting better here. Nobody quit. I think the Carolina game, you could name some guys, but I didn't see any of it. AP agreed with me. We're not sitting here being serving Kool-Aid. The reality is they're 2-3. They should be 4-1 because I figured they would lose to Baltimore. But if you take the Baltimore win, they should be 5-0. We get all that. We understand it. But we're also trying to report and cover a team. And the truth is, I didn't see any quit. You and I are in this locker room. We talk to the players. I don't think there's one guy in that locker room that doesn't believe in this organization and doesn't believe in AP.
Yeah, no, there in terms of quitting on the field, and I'm glad you actually used those two games because again, if you go back and look at the Carolina game and you look at the Denver game, they might have lost both games, but they look different in terms of their effort in both of those games. I can definitely confirm that. So no quit in the team whatsoever. And then not to make excuses, but you pointed out the fact that Robert specifically was probably trying to do too much. I think people in terms of Denver have to remember that elevation is real, right? It's not an excuse. It's just a very real thing. So when you start to overcompensate and you start to fail, those missed tackles start to add up on you, right? Those mistakes start to add up on you mentally and physically as well. And then it just compounds. I think anybody who's been to Denver knows it's hard to breathe sometimes, even if you're just walking, right? Imagine running full speed for 4 quarters. It hurts you. So no quit in the team. I think all of these guys believe. But they're just ready for some things to go their way. They're ready for the ball to bounce their way, and I think that's what they're waiting on. I think that's what you saw in Denver was like, oh man, once the pick six happened, they said, hey, today, part of them was like the ball's just not bouncing our way today. When that happens, it hurts you mentally. So physically, they're there. I think they're ready to play. I think they're ready to bounce back.
All right, talk to me for a minute, Zeke. This team is a roller coaster, and you heard me talk to AP about it, up and down, up and down, up and down. So following the roller coaster, I expect them to be up this week. But that stadium is going to be packed with Steeler fans. Packed. And it's just the reality. And look through your lens into the future. What do you see happening this weekend?
I see a close Raiders win. I think those guys are hungry. I think they know how close they were last week, and so everything kind of went south. And I think this time they're ready to prove that they're not, as mentally weak as they probably seemed after that pick six last week. So I think the guys are hungry. I think the home crowd obviously will be a lot of Steelers fans in there, but there'll be a pretty good amount of Raiders fans too. And I think the team will pick up on that.
I do too. So what's your prediction?
I have them winning, and my prediction in terms of the score, I'll go 24-18, just kind of off the top of my head. Yeah, just random numbers there, but about a 5 to 7 point win. Yeah, I think they're going to pull it off. So excuse my random numbers there, but I think they'll win a close game.
I think they're going to win too. I'm just shocked you think they're going to put up 24 points on the Steelers defense.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be like a 14-13 game.
Listen, most of the games in terms of this season, especially when the defense was healthy, that's what they looked like in terms of low scoring, figure it out on a one possession type thing. So it could go right back to that on Sunday for sure.
Well, now watch. It's going to be like a 56. Yeah. 56.
It's going to be the complete opposite of whatever we're saying right now.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you. I'm here in the building with you, so I'll see you in 10 seconds when we walk out.
See you soon.
I appreciate you. Appreciate all you do. And again, keep your eyes out when all this Davante mess comes to an end. We're going to have a deep dive article in it. Zeke, give them a preview. Don't tell them what we're going to tell them, but how excited are Raider fans going to be to once again, we took them inside the Derek Carr divorce. We took them inside, the firing of Josh McDaniels. We took them inside how Dave Ziegler could have saved the franchise. We've done all that. Tell them how excited they're going to be to read this one.
Listen, you should be very, very excited. I'm excited to be a part of it. I think as a reader, you should be even more excited. The key word in terms of everything Hondo said was inside. You're gonna get a lot of inside information, whether it's quotes, whether it's just points of views, a lot of great things coming in this article. And you got to think, we're not even releasing it until after the season, so we would have had 2, 3, 4 months worth of time to put into this. So it's going to be a good one.
We may release it before the end of the season because he's getting traded here, but it's going to be really good. Also, just want everyone to know, Christian Wilkins, in case you're wondering, has been put on IR. So there you go. That's the latest. Zeke, tell them where to find you on X.
Yes, sir. My handle is EZTREZ_SI. EZTREZ_SI.
He's the best, the great Ezekiel Trezevant. Thanks, Zeke.
Thank you, Hondo.